Hi everyone, this is John, the Outlaw Snuggler, and I'm going to do a video on the timeline. I was asked to do this by a friend of mine, Lav, on our live chats. You know her as Lavina. Anyways, she has asked me to do a timeline on what it is that's going on with Westworld because she doesn't understand. Not, it's pretty confusing. So in this part of the episode, we see that Bernard, which obviously is Arnold, is talking to um, uh, Dolores, and he's in the downstairs in the basement after we saw in episode 7. So there's no surprise that he is Arnold. You could see the difference in his mannerism. His picture is totally different. His dress is different. Everything else is different. So that's going to be before this happened. One of the confusing things is this logo. In this episode is the second episode where we see the host and William moving forward upstairs in the escalator, and this is at the top. So this is different than the one that we've seen, which is from the Delos Corporation. And I don't know whether this picture is from a mistake that was made, but it sounds like we definitely see a different one there. Yeah, so we have William and Logan in a episode, or in the second episode that we get introduced to, and he is so here's another of the Delos or the pre-Delos logos on the lab coat of the technician. Also on the timeline where Ford is going into a flashback. So I'm not quite sure whether this is something that Ford is being devious and not telling us about, or whether it's an actual case. But that's one of the other confusing things about this, or it's a proof, I'm not sure. So we'll get started with the storyline where in the beginning Teddy comes into town and meets Grizzly Adams. We see him, and that's one of the congruent parts of the timeline, and when he comes into town we see the sheriff trying to induce the new guest into going to check out Hector Escobar, who's also in the current timeline. A little bit confusing, and then we'll see the guest that they actually get to go on the hunt for Hector, and they are in the current timeline, so we see them as what I think is a current timeline. And when I say timelines, obviously we're looking at a 40-year period from the very beginning when Ford and Arnold are together programming them. And also in this, William and Logan come into town off the train, meet Grizzly Adams, and they see a different narrative, which is the Union Army trying to recruit them so that they can go fight the Confederales. Yeah. Not quite sure why it's confusing as far as that's concerned, but it's definitely a different narrative. The one thing that I thought for sure is that the host would move a little bit more robotic in nature and be a little more less fluid. And then, of course, the man in black we don't ever see come into town. He just appears at the Abernathy Ranch in the first episode with Dolores. So that part was a little bit confusing to most. But the man in black is definitely the current timeline. We see him with at the Mariposa Saloon with Dolores. We see him with Dolores, but we also see him with Maeve, which we know is within a year from the beginning of the timeline. So we see the man in black definitely with Maeve, Clementine, and Dolores all in the current timeline. Lawrence is one of the ones that fools us because we see him in both the Man in Black series and then also in the Dolores and Williams series. So I'm pretty excited to get started on what the real timeline is. And we'll see Bernard and Teresa talking. And Bernard explains, 40 years ago, and you can see in the closed caption, 40 years ago, Ford and Arnold made these programs And then Dolores says the last time she spoke to Arnold was 34 years ago, 42 days and 7 hours. And in that particular case, that's the 6 years basically between the beginning of the park, or the beginning of their expedition, and the time that Arnold died. So we know that William comes to Westworld after Arnold dies, because we see in the next pictures William being explained to the story why Logan started coming there and going into the purchasing of the shares in the park, and then eventually hoping to buy them out. So that's the goal that Logan has, and he's basically looking into this as an investment, and all of this is a prospecting mission, as well as working on his deviant behavior. So definitely the explanation of when Arnold died is clear in this one. And again, this is with Ford interrogating Dolores. So no surprise there. But this is in Pariah, when Logan and William are just wandering through the town, and Logan is excited because this is a pretty raw part of town, and he's going to meet El Lazo, which is Lawrence. And so he's inspired to keep moving forward and pursuing the ends of the park, as it will. So we find out that Logan thinks that one of the partners killed himself, but there's no evidence whatsoever. And this is their opportunity to buy into the park because they're hemorrhaging cash, as he says. One of the things that really fooled me is in the beginning, Logan and William are drinking out of this particular glass. It's on the train, and then the host or one of the people take it away from him. But then on the current timeline, we see Lee Sizemore at poolside, and this is the most recent episode. We see the same exact glass. Not sure why this was done. It could be just a simple studio mistake, but we don't see this particular glass in any of the other scenes, whether it's at the Mariposa or or any of the other places. And then, of course, we have our new episode coming up tonight, and I'm pretty excited about that. I don't know about you guys, but we're going to be seeing some additional Maeve moves and trying to escape from the park. I think she's going to hit her head on the glass dome on her way out, like the Windex commercials you see where somebody hits their head. And of course, Ford tries to explain why he had Teresa killed, and Bernie's just freaking out. And of course, we're going to also have Dolores move forward with William on finding her home and her beginning, and so that she can be free. But William doesn't always agree with that situation, so I'm not sure how that's going to work out. And then, of course, the Man in Black's going to continue moving forward to the Wyatt case. We see some of the men dressed up in their mask that Teddy talks about. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of what's going on in the next episode tonight. And I hope you enjoy me for the episode review. And I'll have that out on Tuesday the 22nd. And it'll be exciting because this show has gotten me on pins and needles. I just love it to death. And I hope you're enjoying it. If you would, leave me a comment on what you think about Bernard being a host, and whether Bernard is actually Arnold, because we see definitely Arnold in all of the episodes talking to Dolores in the basement and that interview process, and it's not in the main lab. She's obviously dressed, and when he gives her gifts and everything else, that is Arnold. That is not Bernard. So I think that's one of the reasons why Ford moved forward in making him Bernard, and that way he could perpetuate the park and make sure that it's run, and also give him another advantage in making sure that nobody interferes with his work. And again, I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a like, subscribe if you want to check out the or get notices on the new reviews that I'm going to be doing. And I hope you guys have a great day, and thanks for stopping by AU Pack Mule.